this is our get-together session, our brainstorming, our, getting to the point where we can feel happy about finishing the characters. So I hit you with some strange statements, but I think it's kind of always like that. As I said in the email, a big part of this was to let you basically not have a leash. You can do as you will. We got Pedro's character concept. So you decided to go with sort of the literal pet, that it's like a dog for your demon. Mm. And you also made the ancient city stuff seems to be more related to the kicker than to anything else. Right? Which is fine.
Yeah.
The notion is that second statement really focuses on the lore, so something about your character and their demon, his demon, would also have to have some sort of ancient cities thing, whatever it is. So it's not like he just met a dog one day. At least not without some kind. I know he's a naive sorcerer, which is fine, but there should be some kind of connection for us to grab onto of that kind, whatever it may be. Yeah. And
I was thinking it's a little bit over.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could think of. Otherwise, we're talking about a kind of character that I'm pretty familiar with in this game, which is the no-nonsense cop. And I can see that you have been affected by your nation of residences of television taste. I have been watching a lot of Nordic Noir this year. And Ibars, if you're not familiar with it, these allegedly happiest people in the world up here in the Nordic countries, but they also have the most gruesome, depressing crime shows you've ever seen. I mean, all the detectives. Yeah, go ahead.
I think I have seen a couple of their movies and TV shows, but it was a bit depressing. I'm really familiar with nearly every crime types and crime show types, not crime types. Crime show types.
Much better. Oh, really?
No, crime show types, and it was a really new genre. I read some book as well about it in the past, but I agree. They have some pretty cold standards, if you say.
Yeah. So I've been watching a few all the way from Iceland to Finland. And each one, the detective is more neurotic than the last one, and the killer is more disgusting and gruesome than the last one. And, there's one actual murder here a year. But in these shows, the place is full of bodies. So
they're overcompensating.
I think something, I guess.
Okay.
So, anyway, though, so your detective seems a little bit in that zone. His name is Silva, and you didn't indicate a place of residence.
I on purpose kind of left it a bit open.
Okay.
Because, we hadn't talked about the game at all, where it would be, anything like that. So I kind of tried to let things kind of open as much as possible.
Right. Well, I was, in a way, that's kind of like two people playing chicken, because I was going to let what you guys decided dictate that stuff. But that's okay.
Yeah, I understand. I know the process, but I was kind of like, I'm not going to just say, hey, Ibars, this is going to be set here.
Right. Okay. Let's see what we get. That's what this session is for, too, is to find these places where we can find meaningful compatibility with the different concepts. Ibars, did you have any ideas?
Okay. First of all, when I received your email, I immediately noted down the first two sentences, and I quickly throw down some ideas.
Yeah.
I didn't create the character as like Pedro did, because I understand that we should do the characters now.
Okay. That's fine too.
I don't know.
No, it's perfectly okay. Either way is excellent. There's no no exact requirement. Okay. So so this is great.
That's right. I started with your second statement. Basically, I thought that it either meant a real ruin in a city, or a ruin in a city or near a city that we have found. I mean, humanity has found, or possibly can be found.
Right. I completely agree.
Yeah. So I made some research on the web concerning the oldest city ruins of human history. It listed down 10 locations. 2 of them are in Turkey.
Yes, I know. I have been looking at them too. And so I did a search. I did a search on ancient cities Anatolia. That was my search. So yeah.
I actually went to one of them when I was a kid. So it was called Çatalhöyük. This is where the big underground city.
Yes, yes, this is famous. We've all seen the pictures. Yeah.
Yep. It's and there's a Göbekli Tepe, which is southeastern side of Turkey, which is the most ancient temple that has been unearthed. Yeah. But it just gave me some ideas of the real ruins that we have found. I mean, we as humanity, right?
Perfect. I love it.
The second idea was that maybe I kind of imagined, okay, maybe some researchers have found a sunken World War II German U-boat in Mediterranean, okay? But when they found it, they actually found some ruins, like way down below, right? So maybe that ancient city is Atlantis, ruins of Atlantis, maybe, I don't know. So, and probably the nearest location is Malta or Cyprus. It could be both of locations. It just gave me some ideas where we can add some flavors.
Well, more than flavor, because this is the kind of thing that when I'm the GM, I become a scholar, and I run off to go and educate myself, and that's sort of one of my reasons for giving that statement in the first place. Is so I can have fun. Pedro knows I'm always in a state of research. It's what I do.
It's the academic.
You both are scientists. Of course, it's natural.
Yeah, that's part of it.
And everything.
Yeah, close indeed. Yeah, one of these days we'll have a conversation.
When it comes in feeling.
Yeah.
But your first statement was actually the hardest one. Okay.
Yes.
It gave me some vague ideas about the nature and identity of the demons. What can be, right? So I thought first that it can be the souls of dead animals. Second, it can be the hungry ghosts of children sacrificed to the old gods in ancient times.
First of all, ew, and then second, okay.
Okay. Third, it can be jinns. Westerners call genies.
Yeah, jinn. Yeah.
In Turkish culture, jinn is a really, really frightening thing.
Right. They are very demonic, very intense, like similar to an angry kami in Japan. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is written in Holy Book, Quran. There are actually prayers against it.
Right.
Let me say you like this: if you talk to real atheists in Turkey, there are chances that if you mention jinn, he will tell you to shut up.
Right. Well, this is an interesting thing.
That's frightening. It's that much frightening.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the same in other countries in Middle East, but Turkey has some, superstitious beliefs, but really strong superstitious beliefs about jinn.
The equivalent in the United States is angels. There are people who consider themselves pagans or non-practicing in religion, but the symbology of the angel is so important for them. I mean, that actually takes on a lot of power, and you see it in pop culture all the time. People who would not ever talk about God, but they know all about the angels. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't know that they're being religious when they do it, but it's very, very common. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was nice. Okay. Then I jotted down some character ideas. but I didn't, as I said before, I didn't, noted down all the stats for my character.
No,
It's
that's
just some
okay.
vague ideas. Okay, so maybe, my first character idea is that maybe a mayor of a city which has or near this ruins, and he just wants to protect the status quo of the city from curious outsiders.
Well, okay. Okay, so he's kind of like a custodian of the city in a sort of sorceress way.
Exactly.
Okay.
Second, I wrote it down chief of police, but since Pedro already made a detective, I just erased it. Don't stop.
No, I don't know.
I can be my chief.
No, well, actually, we can hold on just a sec because there's lots of possibilities here.
Yeah.
If we are beginning to go toward the emergent police procedural to some extent, which we are, then let's stay with it. Let's say, let's play if we are discovering that particular common interest for purposes of this game. Let's not abandon it. Let's not reject it. So keep the police idea just for a moment, and Pedro, we don't necessarily have to connect it entirely. You can, one of the nice things we can do, this kicker that you came up with, clearly can connect you to this city. So you don't, the idea that your character would go there is not crazy.
Yeah, it could be even like, some sort of consultant or whatever.
Right, exactly.
That does actually happen. So.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's certain amount of fun there. I don't know anything. You might want to think then about where Silva comes from if he's coming from somewhere else, which is also kind of fun.
Yeah. Could be cool, yeah.
Yeah, especially because, Turkey is a NATO member and has deep connections with the EU, and, that it's a member in all but name, really. So, we can do that. So wherever is fine. I love the idea. So.
Okay. Third idea, a librarian who wants more power with acquiring more ancient texts. So I was just looking at some, crazy sorcerers. I want power,
right.
But it can be really childish.
Right. If we're talking about, I kind of like the mayor/police idea simply because Pedro already went that way, but also because it's an interesting picture of sorcery as responsibility. Right, so you're kind of breaking cosmic laws, but you feel like you're, doing something constructive with them, something important, or above, or more, or deeper than, and that has a nice feel to it, to me. As far as the demon is concerned, I kind of like the Djinn. It has the weight, the emotional and cultural weight. Yep. Even if it seems kind of standard, there's a reason for that standard quality.
Yep.
And the demonic dog is also really interesting because it is such. It seems like it's a mischievous, kind of a little, Totoro at first, until you realize that this thing has roots that go way, way, way back. And that makes it more, makes it interesting. So cool. I'm liking this.
I got two ideas as well. Two more ideas as well.
I just full of ideas. Fantastic. Yes.
Okay. An archaeologist who wants to uncover more secrets in the ruins. And the final idea, a school teacher who wants to protect the children from human trafficking.
Those last two characters sound like very good secondary characters to associate with your character through a kicker or through the descriptors.
Okay.
That seems very reasonable for characters who would be involved with the city. Clearly, if your character had a position of legal authority, then human trafficking would be a concern.
Yep.
So that seems to work.
I was thinking that, yes, like you said, like some of those characters would actually be in your diagram.
Yeah,
like people
exactly.
that
Because
So
you're
don't
going
need
to
discard them.
Eyebrows. When you see that, you can see that you have lore and kicker and cover and price as those quadrants. This is from the character sheet. It's just it's a redrawn graphic. And the idea is that you have objects and places and people that are associated with each of these things. And once you have them, then when you put them on the diagram and see which ones are related to each other, they form a certain pattern. And then I have some videos explaining this in detail, but the idea is that the people you are talking about are going to be involved in play because of their presence on the diagram. And so we don't have to make that just yet, but we can go through how to make it a little bit later.
Okay.
So, cool. Just to shift our minds for the moment, going back and forth helps the process. Pedro, you were talking in your file about how the demon, you weren't too clear on some of the things you wanted the demon to be able to do. And this may sound a little bit too standard, but sometimes, again, standard is good. If you are talking about an invisible dog pet demon that is a bull, what we say in the United States, a pit bull, then clearly it can really hurt people. Is a possibility. Or if you don't want it to be and you want the potential to be for violence to remain with your character specifically, then its capacity for protection and travel could be extensive. And given one possibility is that demons actually allow perception into time. And so the capacity for strange Lovecraft-like perceptions of ancient knowledge and phenomena. Maybe you at the moment just know that when you look at things with the dog around, you can see things about what has happened that other people can't.
Yeah,
but you don't know yet just how extensive this really is. And it can be very extensive. Just thinking about things that you would find very, very helpful as a detective, and personally, that have greater implications in our context.
Yeah.
So those are some thoughts. Let's see. So, Ibars, I don't want to shove you into the parts of your description or your ideas that I find the most exciting. So I want to make sure that, you're thinking about things to do that you want to do. So where do you stand with that at this point?
I think I will either go with as a city official, mayor kind of thing, or the chief of police. Could be a superior of Pedro's character, or could be a colleague.
Right, or somebody that's in charge of his visit or something like that.
Could be,
right.
Could be.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It would be like a good link.
Yeah,
like,
I think so too.
There's something going on there, and I'm kind of like someone who has some experience with that kind of stuff.
Or maybe your investigation that you talked about has led you here.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, it could go either way.
Yeah,
and you would be like a point of contact.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And it's a little bit useful. My mind is in this space at the moment anyway. It's working for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Would you, in that case, you have a lot of room to play with your attributes, the scores. Strength and will and lore.
Stamina.
Stamina. My own game. It's all that champions. Strength is the first attribute in champions. So yes, thank you. So stamina, will, and lore, and so they total to 10. And in a way, what you pick doesn't matter, and in a way, what you pick matters a lot.
Yep.
It matters a lot in terms of your character's spheres of easy effectiveness, but it doesn't matter in the way that it matters in other role-playing games, in the sense that you're useless in what you don't pay for, right? So you're not useless in any of them, unless you take a 1.
Okay. I got it. Got it. I think stamina will be 2. Will be 4, and lore will be 4 as well.
Right, because if you're going to be this custodian type of character of the city, then you are going to know a lot at that level.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay.
And so then we have the descriptors themselves, and if we're using the core book descriptors, which are really the strongest, especially for the first time playing, then you can pick pretty easily. And Pedro's character is clearly physically very accomplished and a little frightening, actually. So that's a nice contrast with what you have there.
Okay, I'm going to look for the PDF of the book to check the descriptors.
Yes.
If that's the case.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pedro, did you want to look around some demon abilities to toss some possibilities out? Or you could go with the more with the approach of telling me situations and what the demon would do for you, and then I can match those two abilities. Either way.
I actually just did the demon today. I was kind of thinking about it. I wasn't really sure about the grandmother thing, but
right. Well, we can review that a little bit. Yeah.
But the way I was imagining it was that it would be super helpful to the character to get some clues from the dead.
Yes.
But I wasn't imagining the whole thing like the guy sitting somewhere and just talking to the dead or something. So my idea was, aesthetically, he would have to be near the body. So you can't actually figure out something just like, for example, these two women, like they don't have the bodies or anything, but he's not going to get any info.
Right.
Or he's not just going into the ghost world or the spirit world and ask someone about it.
Right. He actually has to be hands-on with this sort of thing.
Yeah, either in the morgue or in the place where the body is, and just do his thing there. Mm-hmm. So to keep things a bit lower level.
Right. I agree. And besides, in all of these, not that we are imitating all of these TV shows, and I won't refer to them again except for one last time, they are full of autopsy scenes. It's kind of like I'm watching a particular show, and then I'm like, okay, they're going to the morgue. Okay, there we go. All right. Are they done yet? Yeah.
So I was trying to not go into that kind of urban fantasy exaggeration.
Right. I completely agree. We'll stay very human with
the aesthetics and somewhat subtle.
Yeah,
So that would be one thing. Then there's the question, like also you were mentioning. So there could be more perception related stuff.
Yeah.
Like maybe get flashes.
Right.
Of like he's in a certain place and he gets like some flashes or sees something, like a person that only he sees.
Right.
Maybe it's actually a past event and not actually something that.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking too. Yeah.
So again, kind of subtle
Right.
Kind of cool on the screen, but nothing like, Harry Potter.
Yes, I completely
that would
agree.
be one thing.
Okay, cool.
I mean,
I like it.
Then it's the question of should I put some protection? I mean, I'm not really. I mean, it would be it would go either way. Like the whole idea of the dog being also some kind of defense, like offensive, like protecting me by attacking, or it could be just conferring something. I'm not really decided on that.
Right. I like the defensive idea. It makes your character more active, and also there are lots of things that are, as you saw with Zach's character, there are lots of things that are more contextual for combat. They don't really give you powers, but you are operating in an advantageous way relative to everybody else. Yeah. And so there are different abilities that can do that. You can think about those. When Zach finally realized or learned through doing that his character was physically extremely formidable was kind of interesting, because it's not a standard powers list. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. Well, anyway, so
I think we can go in that direction.
Yeah.
Something more protective.
The only thing that remains, and in some ways, taking a naive sorcerer seems easier, but in some ways it's harder, because you still have to have the deliberate decision to use and have a relationship with this thing. And the fact that it seems, I mean, you don't have to feed it your relatives for its need. It has an easy need, except for the day when you can't do it. And and that's fine. So in many ways, it might have taken your character a while to realize that he doesn't have a real dog, but the day did come, and you made a decision about that, and that decision has served you well. So you don't have to come up with the exact event. I might ask you about it as a flashback or something later, but what matters is the nature of that decision. What did your character want and continues to want that this dog helps him do? That's very important. So that's really the only aspect that that I wouldn't mind seeing worked on just a little bit.
I mean, I think that the actual situation in which the dog was contacted, summoned, and so forth, it's probably needs a bit more thought.
Right. He doesn't actually, especially for a naive sorcerer, he does not have to have done the contact and the summons. Well,
just
it's
the binding.
Just the binding, right?
Yeah.
So you can play with that as you see fit.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of what the dog gives him and how he has find it useful, I mean, that's not very difficult. I mean, in the sense, it's obvious.
Perfect. Right. Okay. Then go with the obvious.
Second one is and the second one is that it's his Sherry's grandmother.
Right.
So I mean, that was I think that was the source, the grief for his grandmother.
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect.
So yeah.
Okay. So excellent. Ibars, how are we doing?
Well, for stamina, it's 2. I choose clean living.
Right.
For will, it's 4. I choose social competence.
Yes.
Nice. For lore, it's 4.
Right.
I've chosen a solitary adept.
Yes. This makes a lot of sense.
Yep, probably.
Yeah.
Cover is 4. It's equal to will.
Yes.
And I've chosen custodian because I think a will represents much more, way of speaking, way of acting, way of doing things, socially.
Right.
So I chose cover as 4, and I wrote down custodian.
Well, that's tricky because cover should be a secular term, a term of your actual social role as far as the rest of humanity is concerned. So if you like the police I don't know about a police chief. If you want him to be, he can, or a high-ranking policeman of some kind, somebody who is in charge of investigations, somebody who doesn't do the little jobs. You know, whatever that level is fine.
Could be like a chief, like captain.
Yeah.
Or,
yeah,
captain. Okay, I'm gonna write just captain.
Right, and use for our purposes, feel free to find and use the proper Turkish terms. I'm happy to learn them.
Oh, the game will be in Turkey or not?
Well, if we're going to be playing with the city that you mentioned, I'm going to go there. Is that okay? Or at least partly, because we can travel. Ancient cities, we can travel all over, right? So,
yeah, sure.
As you say, they're all over the place, right? So,
in that case, it's like chief commissar, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For price, I've chosen perfectionist. It's like -1 check to any. I'm gonna say social role, but it's not for social. It's kind of like duty-based checks. Like, do this properly.
Right. He's so concerned he messes it up a little bit sometimes. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
He's so obsessed with doing things right. Maybe he has left a trail of
right. Any number of things. Right. We'll find out. Yeah. Pedro, what was your character's price again?
I didn't have one yet.
Oh, you see, that's going to be interesting. Because do you see this guy, Silva, if you're going to keep the name, do you see Silva as being a stereotypical, aggressive, break the rules, solve it in any way kind of guy, or do you see him as kind of troubled and thoughtful? There's a lot of room here in your character concept. A lot. What was the will? What was the will descriptor? That helps. Sorry. Rageful and vengeful. Yeah. So he's an angry guy, but is he quiet and cold with his anger, or is he?
Yeah, I mean, the vengeful and rageful kind of allows for a bunch of stuff, as it is described in the rule book. I was mostly going for it's this guy that is a bit like bitter about things, Nordic Noir style.
No, which is fine.
Things are bitter. I mean, life is you see dead bodies all the time. That's one of the things.
Right.
He's a bit bitter, but he's not like rough guy or
perfect. No, I get that.
Kind of stereotype at all.
Right. Oh no, I get that. Yeah, I like it a lot.
He's a tough guy. I mean, he's a tough guy, but it's a person that thinks about what he's doing or whatever.
This sounds great. And bitter is perfect, and it just seems to me as though. You can think about how that applies. It might apply when he's trying to be nice, or it might apply when things are really bitter around him, and it just confirms his attitude, and that's depressing. So he's penalized. Either way.
I have to think a bit about that. Yeah. I went for him not to be quite like the last character.
Right, that's what I was thinking. It's too easy.
Was also a bit on the same Yeah.
So this time it might be interesting where he's not penalized when people are decent.
Yeah.
But is penalized maybe when things are really, really, really grim.
Yeah, and probably dealing with certain types of people. People he doesn't like, this kind of street scum, that kind of stuff.
Because those are all over
really loses it and messes stuff up.
I blame American TV and movies. There's scum all over the streets, It's like, wait a minute.
It's useful for gaming.
I was going to say, where are they exactly?
Where are they? Well, in the US.
All right. So let's see. We have some great ideas. I like a lot of the way this is working. And Ibars, what's kind of interesting is that your character with this kind of lore would have a lot of choices, a lot of perspective to get or work with or choose to deal with exactly the right entity as a demon. So therefore, this becomes potentially a very useful, very customized, very personally important entity for this character. the concept that I had of pets, just to kind of let you know where I was coming from, is how much of our relationship with pets is very strange, because clearly there's the element of ownership rather than friendship. There's the that we perceive as friendship, and also the role of family and even children that they can have. The fact that in many ways it is already a relationship of power, and necessarily a relationship of power, even if we feel very, very, very sentimental about it. And so it's, there's some contradictions built in. You feel as though you unconditionally love your pet, but on the other hand, the pet will die unless you choose to let them not die. And so it's kind of I love my pets, but sometimes I look at it from that perspective and I think, what is really going on in that head of mine about this that I can't see? It's a strange relationship and full of weird inversions. We think of them as childlike and dependent when often they are not. You treat people, you see people treating their adult cats and dogs like children, and it's clear that the animal is an adult and fully able to interact more, much more assertively than and in the relationship than the person realizes. And
I got three cats, so I understand.
Right. I see their tails go back and forth.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's quite nice. If I had my son's guinea pigs right here, I would hold them.
Oh.
I know. It's one of my little weaknesses. I can't tell the outside world because I'm such a wimp about them. So, okay. So we have. We have some interesting ideas here. So if you want to play with some of those relationships, is it possible to be straightforward and just have the thing have an animal aspect? Does that work for the kind of Djinn approach or not, or at least to some extent? If not, then not. No, okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think that the animal aspect and the Djinn aspect will melt together.
Okay, that's fine.
Good.
That's fine. Go with what works. But the relationship itself is kind of interesting, is what I'm thinking. Is that somehow the nature of the binding relationship has qualities that I'm talking about in some way.
Yeah. Okay. I will think about what type of my initial demon will be. I guess my telltale is that I got yellow eye.
Right.
Iris. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yellow irises.
Which is interesting because some few people do have that, but it's always very striking when they do.
Yeah. And people always mistake that they have some sort of illnesses,
right?
Which they don't.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I will check for what type of what powers my demon would be.
Right.
But I thought that of an object. Demon.
Yes. Ah, cool. Yes.
Like a ring.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, when he was a kid, this chief commissar went into these rooms to play, and he fell down a shaft, which is similar to Batman in a sense.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And he found this old ring, which has some sort of different attunement to him. So he brought it home, and next day he woken up in a field, completely naked as a child.
Right.
Yeah, and he didn't know where to go, where to do. It was outside the city, and the ring spoken to him.
Right.
Said that it was his new friend.
Right. And so he spent his whole life really with this thing by his side, studying and studying and studying. And that's right. Okay. So about the dog concept, do you you might be a little bit tired of a demon that doesn't talk from the last game. So do you want the thing to be able to talk to you? Perhaps in a limited way? Who knows? For Pedro.
Yeah.
Talking dogs are almost kind of too funny. I don't know.
I'm not sure I want to hear my dead grandmother talking to me. But,
That's true, right.
Even though I love her very much.
Well, still. It's not like you want her opinions.
maybe kind of like... maybe it doesn't necessarily talk, but I hear
right.
her voice in my head, like occasionally, not real like dialogues or anything.
Right, I get it, yeah.
Like a precise sentence,
right,
like at the right time,
exactly.
Right place, you know.
That's right. I get it, yeah. Cool.
Something like that.
So this is actually kind of coming together kind of interestingly. Now, Ibar's one thing to keep in mind as well is that, and this is where perhaps one of those characters you mentioned could be involved. Something has happened that has upset your character's relatively comfortable circumstances. There has to be some kind of event that, in retrospect, we will realize changes your character's life forever. So today is the day. I can't hear you because your microphone is muted. Right, that's okay.
That's the kicker, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. I think my kicker should be something extremely different from his safe zone.
Yes.
Like outside
yes.
his safe zone. Since he's a pretty expert commissar and he has his demon to help him along his life.
All that stuff is working great. Right. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think I thought of my demon's name, and my Turkish friends will hate me about this, but the demon's name could be Süleyman.
Ah. As in the famous, yes, the famous,
exactly.
the Ottoman, you know.
Not the Ottoman.
No.
There was a prophet, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, Suleiman.
Prophet Suleiman. Yeah.
Okay.
The Ring of Solomon. You know,
right.
Solomon.
Ring of Solomon. Yes. Okay.
We know him as Suleiman.
Right. Uh-huh. No, it makes sense, of course. Yeah.
And his ability was to speak to jinns.
Of course. No, this is famous. Solomonic. You know, lore is part of pop culture as well as actual history too. So, I mean, actual scholarly stuff still. That's fine.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Then we'll go classical. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe he has started to see these graffitis all over the city in small letters or in big letters saying that Solomon is back, or Solomon is watching, or I'm watching you, Solomon. Something about a phrase about Solomon.
That sounds great, and we can go to all sorts of strange texts and situations that this belongs to.
And maybe he has checked with his informants about if this is a new drug or a new gang name or any type of new afflictions for kids. Maybe a new band name, but
so
they said no.
Right. Okay, that sounds like it should be pretty easy to work with in a good way. And also, it might be useful to take a day or two to think about things that the demon actually does for both of you. And also, let's take a look then at Silva, and just let's get some of those terms and people established. So for the demon itself, you've got the actual dog, you've got your grandmother, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have, so that would be in your lore. Do you have anything else to do with the sorcery involved in your character's life?
You're now thinking in terms of the diagram, right?
Right. But let's not worry about the diagram itself. Let's just worry about the terms.
I kind of left it really...
Well, for example...
NPCs and so forth, I kind of left really out.
There's more here than you may think.
Because I didn't really have time for more. But
that's fine, but it's easy to do given what you have given us. If we take a look at your character's cover, for example, clearly you have your rank and your job, and clearly the morgue is part of the job. And the morgue, of course, crosses over with lore a little bit because you talk to dead people in it, because you're weird. And then we have in the price, we can have specific things from your past that are related to the bitterness. Things that led to that, or things that are indicative of that. For example, you might have, there's all kinds of things, and I don't want to over-characterize your character, but, for all we know, there are specific medications in his cabinet, or if you don't want to go that way, then maybe he has a particular taste in music, or maybe he has, an old journal of his own that he never looks at, he just keeps, or anything. Do you see what I mean? I'm completely freestyling, but whatever it is, a few things, or a person, maybe like the one
maybe
person he'll talk
some
to.
Cases that he didn't manage to solve.
Right.
Like
old cases.
Yeah, before he had his grandma back.
Right.
Like cases, murdered women, stuff like that he wasn't able to solve, and he has like this album with
because that's healthy.
Journal, with cuts from journal.
Sure, that sounds good. Also, people is good too. So if there's somebody who understands his bitterness that he can actually talk to, that would be helpful. Or maybe somebody he doesn't talk to anymore because of it, something like that.
He could have like maybe not. I'm not sure. I was thinking maybe about a psychologist or something.
A therapist,
therapist. Yeah. But I'll think about it. Yeah.
And so, and then for the kicker itself, you have the situation you described, and there's all kinds of people and things and weird shit in there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's the police station. There's people at the police station.
That's mostly with the cover.
Yes, this is mostly cover, yeah.
So with the kicker specifically, it's the actual victims and the actual crime situation and the evidence and stuff like that.
Yeah. So what's missing?
Only one or two. No, it sounds pretty good actually. I mean, only one or two other, a person or two really, really helps.
Yeah, but lore is kind of. I mean, I don't.
Well, but you're a naive sorcerer, so just anything to do. Oh well, obviously you have a cabinet. You have a cabinet full of crackers, don't you?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And you also have. I mean, do you have your grandmother's things? Did you give them all away? Give them to the refugees?
No, there's grandma's home. That's what I was thinking of. Maybe in the
Because that's healthy
I guess
too.
this would go in what? In lore? Granny's home?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still there.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So this is actually pretty full. Maybe just a person or two somewhere, like I said, so that there's humans involved. And then, I did this all in front of Ibars so you can see what we are doing. We just look at these four things and think about people or places that are obviously in them. We don't have to invent anything crazy or secondary or extra. You look at them, obviously, as a commissar, you would have, by definition, you would have your place of work, you would have your subordinates, your superior, your office, all that stuff.
Yeah, police station.
Right.
I'm going to say police station.
Right, but not just the station. I mean, it's things in it that are specific to your character, like their particular place, their particular, things that are important to that person in here. You could even have, for example, the one assistant that you always rely upon. Something like that, right?
Yeah, could be.
Yeah. And so if we look at lore, well, clearly we've got, the ruins that he's very familiar with, the actual ruins. You somehow have access to them through the people. I mean, most of these ruins are state regulated.
Yes.
so that because they're valued very highly and people are allowed to come visit, but it's usually very organized. American tourists cannot just drive up and walk all over them the way, wherever they feel like, and leave their Budweiser cans. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so therefore, you have some sort of relationship with those agencies. And you also have perhaps you have the ring itself, of course, and perhaps you have a collection of texts, a collection of objects, a collection, and where you keep that, you can't just keep it on your desk at the police station. That doesn't work. So you must keep it somewhere. So those are some thoughts. Maybe there are places in the ruins that nobody knows about but you. You're the only person who can walk there. Who knows who can actually get there. Stuff like that. Then with the price, you were talking about the perfectionist. Is there a character that your character should be close to, but your perfectionism has created a problem? Is there a rank that your character should have been promoted to, but you were too much of a perfectionist to, solve the case sloppily? And you would have been promoted if you did it, but no, you didn't. So therefore,
it could be a relative, like a wife. Since he's a perfectionist, he's obsessed with work and of course obsessed with perfectionism in his life. But
wives are human, right?
Yeah. But due to his obsession, he is failing his link with his wife.
Right. So the wife is not divorced or anything, but it is a tough time.
No.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And so maybe he doesn't have kids, and his rest of his family is kind of wondering why.
Maybe they had a kid, but it had died. And could be, and maybe his perfectionism was the cause, or was the outcome.
Yes, I kind of like that. It's the outcome. You can't let anything go uncontrolled or not understood, because maybe some kid will die again, or something
probably.
like that. Somewhere in his head, it's all, tightened up. Okay, I like that. So both of your characters are incredibly mentally healthy, which is great. And so we also have then the kicker idea, the thing that kind of takes your character off guard. What were the thoughts again on that? Oh, the Solomonic thing, yes. So therefore we actually have the graffiti thing, we have the it's...
Do you think it is weak?
Well, I'm thinking that a little bit more. It's not a weak idea, but leaving it just at that means that I get to make up more. And that's okay if you want to.
Sure.
Okay. Good
I'm
enough.
okay with it.
Right. Sometimes, just one thing in a diagram when the rest looks really full is great, because that means right there is an element of some uncertainty or very strong focus. That one thing can be really powerful. So good. That actually gives me plenty to work with.
By the way, I have written down my demon's powers.
Oh, yes. Sure.
Okay.
What are we thinking?
So, the demon name is Solomon. He's an object. General appearance is an old emerald ring. I think the telltale that it sometimes shines. Just
right.
Maybe could be. Others. Mundane people might see as a reflection of the sun.
Right. It's easily explained, but that's not really the explanation. Right.
That's not really the explanation.
Right.
Its stamina is 4. Will is 7. Lore 6. Power 7.
Yes.
The desire is controlling others, is what it's all about. Need, I think, I'm gonna go really biblical here. Maybe it's about, you know, dominance, something like that. Dominate others, or needs to be pampered. You know, like oh my God, you're so awesome.
Right. So it needs praise. Right.
Yeah, praise,
Yes,
appraisal,
yes.
and praise.
Yes. Perfect. And so that gives us 6 abilities to play with.
Yep, and I have chosen my abilities.
Sure.
Armor,
Mm-hmm.
cloak, command, fast, hold, and finally perception.
Perceiving what specifically? Kind of a. It can be lots of things. So.
Yeah, that was a good question, and I didn't. I was stuck there.
Okay. Well, there's really 2 basic approaches with lots of options in each one. Option number 1 is to say that we are talking about ordinary perception and being really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is to have highly focused perception of things that other people cannot perceive at all.
Okay. I think perception of scents, like perfumes.
Right. Okay.
Like,
right.
Not like how a dog sniffs something and
right.
automatically it belongs to this person or that person.
Perfect. Right.
Something
You
like
have Wolverine smell. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So yes, that's good. I like that, and I think it will work very well. We can talk a little bit more. I'm confused about one thing. The ring's name is Solomon. Yep. But this entity in the kicker is also identifying itself as Solomon.
Yep.
So
basically someone is aware of it.
Somebody is saying it's accusatory or threatening to the ring.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Ring
or maybe someone has learned its true name and tries to get his attention.
Right.
I don't know.
I've got plenty of things like that. The ring itself is directly threatened. And that's a big deal because your ownership of the ring has everything to do with the safety and the persistence of this ancient city.
Yep.
So Pedro, what I'm seeing for your character is that you are almost like a visitor character who may be discovering that you have more connections to this place than you thought.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I have in mind for this. Is that okay for you?
Yeah, totally.
Excellent.
The only thing is about my kicker is that something that is happening somewhere else and then I end up here. I mean,
no, I think it actually, I like the idea that it's happening in your area, but once you start researching into it, you discover that there is kind of a center or a pattern that leads you here.
Leave it at that.
Right.
Leave it right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Perfect. Fine. Okay. So we are set, really. This is looking pretty good. You guys can play with it a little bit. Thank you very much.
Sure.
I'm looking forward to playing, and we'll keep it kind of nice and efficient and enjoy the game.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Great deal. Good night, everybody.
See you guys next Monday.
Good night. Take care.